That's a bit much.
I'd have to hook up a new TV so I could play my games.
Welcome to episode 29 of the Monsters of Geek podcast. I'm your host and editor-in-chief of monstersofgeek.com. My name is Aaron. With us today, we have an illustrious, glorious panel today. We have Mr. Andrew. Andrew, what's up, buddy?
Hey, what's going on?
We have our very own snow monster, our legendary mythical snow monster. Are you mythical if I can see you?
Technically, I don't think it's mythical. I don't think I'm mythical.
Okay, what about urban legend snow monster?
Cryptozoological.
We have the Yeti.
How about just fake?
Hey, we are not fake.
Uh-oh.
Racist.
And our world heavyweight champion, Jared. What's up, bud?
Hey, it's good to be back.
So we finally had some big video game news. So this was supposed to be the sports episode. Next week we'll actually do the very first new release podcast that Jared had come up with. So that'll be next week as we will look at the November releases. But we finally got some big news in video games. So I took, as editor-in-chief, decided that this was going to be a video game-centric podcast, as we are going to talk about the Nintendo Switch and also the announcement of Red Dead Redemption 2. If you'd have told me anything would have took a back seat, made Red Dead Redemption 2 take a back seat, I'd have said you was nuts, because we've talked about Red Dead Redemption probably almost every episode. I think it's came up at some point. But Nintendo decided that they wanted to trump that announcement, and we finally got a 3-minute video on what their next console is, and it's going to be called not the Nintendo NX, but the Nintendo Switch, and the internet broke in half. And that was on Friday, was it? No. Yeah, Friday. Yep. Friday morning about 10 a.m. So we'll start with Andrew first. Andrew, we'll get all the initial reaction, then we'll kind of discuss what we think and some questions that have been floated around about the system. Andrew, what was your initial reaction to it?
So, full disclosure, I'm the most even-keeled fanboy you'll ever meet. I love Nintendo. They're my people. Yeah. So the fact that I was kind of like watching the trailer and like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is freak out is a big deal, because I don't do that even over my I think you actually just. What was your question?
Actually, I think you're breaking up. What was your initial reaction?
Okay. You're going to have to do some editing there, I think. Initial reaction to what?
To just the announcement. Like we saw, I texted you the video, and Polygon had it up, but it wasn't up for 10 minutes into it. So I ended up going to YouTube and watching it. What was your initial reaction to maybe just what it was? Like I was, we had heard rumors, but maybe was your excitement, like you said, you kind of freaked out. What made you freak out about it first?
Just how, for me personally, it really fits what my lifestyle is. Not that I just, I'm sitting in my house and I've got neighbors on a rooftop having a party and they're begging me to come over. But yeah, but I get a lot of use out of for playing Vita games, but for remote play, because my wife and I share the TV screen a lot, which means she gets the TV screen a lot. So I had the ability to do off-screen play, which has also been nice with the Wii U, is a big plus for me. But on top of that, I tend to get more time to game mobile. So to be able to do major home console games portable is a huge deal for me. Like I would finally play Skyrim if it was on the Switch, and if I got a Switch, which is about 90%. Like going into the trailer, I was probably 70%. Yeah, I'm gonna get it. The trailer alone, seeing what it is and the potential that I think is there, probably push me to 90-95%.
Very cool. Yeah, for him to Andrew, you are a more even keeled Nintendo fanboy. You don't flip out over everything they do. You're critical of stuff they've messed up on. You're very even keeled. So for you to go nuts, it gets me even more excited about it because it's Andrew and he's pretty even keeled. So, all right, Yeti. What was your initial reaction to the Nintendo Switch?
I thought it was awesome. My initial thoughts were finally Nintendo has put something out that is capable of actually competing in the console wars. And I'm not going to say finally they put something out that changed it, because they changed it with the Wii with all the motion stuff. And then I think they didn't catch on, but they started to change it with the Wii U with the video screen on the controller.
Mm-hmm.
And then this time they're just like, all right, we're just going to make the console where you can just take it anywhere you want to go now. And I think that's going to be huge.
Yeah, that was kind of my reaction, because we heard a lot of rumors about, and this even goes back to when Nintendo, brought together both the mobile and the home console departments. It was right before Iwata passed away, about a year before Iwata passed away. And people were starting to say, well, why'd they do that for? What's Nintendo coming up with? And obviously the Wii U was a big miss. The Wii, for as revolutionary as that system was as far as motion controls, and everybody kind of tried to copy it and make it better, the system got to the point where there wasn't really no good games for it. That's where I think the third-party support really started to go down for Nintendo, because if you look at the GameCube, I think we discussed, their third-party support was actually pretty good. But when you got into the Wii, there really wasn't much third-party support, and it really kind of died off. You could find Wii's for $15 at yard sales, once it kind of died over. So with all the rumors and stuff, and even back to when they came together, you knew Nintendo was going to try to do something special. And as much as we'll talk about the complaints here in a minute, we want Nintendo to be Nintendo. We want Nintendo to come up with awesome ways for us to game. And my initial reaction was, wow, they really kind of pulled it off. If you kept up with any rumors, it was supposed to be a handheld. It was supposed to be a docking. It was supposed to be something of a hybrid, that you would have a home console, but then you'd have to buy the portable part and how it would work together. Backwards compatible with 3DS. They just go back to cartridges, which they did. So a lot of this stuff was just confirmed with it. But a lot of that was rumors and hearsay. But I was pretty stoked. I'm with you, Andrew. I mean, I love my PlayStation Vita. I think it's really gotten me to, I spend more time on that than I do any console. And then when I get home, it makes me want to play more because I have such a fun time with the Vita. But I was stoked. I was with you. I was very excited about it. I was excited that it is what we thought it was going to be. And that is some kind of mobile kind of hybrid home console. I think it's a genius. I think it's much different. The reason I think it's a genius is because when people go buy the Switch, instead of buying the PlayStation Neo or PlayStation Pro or the Scorpio, where you can't really tell exactly what the difference is. Oh, it just looks a little bit better. The Switch is something completely different and kind of in a niche of its own. And I think that's going to be huge for Nintendo. Jared, let me say something about Jared. He texted me when we was talking about it, and I knew it was going to be good. This is a success for you, Nintendo, when he said, you know what? I think I might have to buy one. Jared, build on that. That's what Jared, the guy that never buys any consoles, this is the guy that could buy the Switch. Nintendo's already won the console war.
Yeah, it got me excited a little bit for Nintendo because, with 3 kids running around having to share the TV, much like Andrew said with him and his wife, it would be great to be able to hook up and be playing a game on there. And then if they come home and want to watch TV, then I can just pop the controllers on the side and keep playing wherever I want. So that got me excited. Also, the graphics look good. And I don't, it doesn't have to be PlayStation 4, Xbox One graphics for me to like a game, but the graphics were sharp. Everything about it, I liked it. They've got the separate controller if you just want to use it as a screen. So there's a bunch of different things on there throughout the whole video that I really thought was interesting, and it kind of took it to the next level because it's both. It's your home console, but it's also your handheld console. So I think that's the biggest thing that won me over.
Now, there's not much as far as, no specs were announced. I texted Andrew, I was like, is that running Skyrim? As far, because that was pretty impressive. Now, listen, let's just be quite honest. We're all not naive enough to think that was possibly really Skyrim running off of the Switch on that promotional. But the fact of the matter is that Bethesda allowed their stuff to be used in this promotional thing. So I would very seriously doubt that Bethesda would put Skyrim on this, the HD version that they're going to re-release. Now, they may not have mods. I don't know how Nintendo feels about mods, but we do know that Bethesda allowed them to do that. So if it didn't run on the Switch or not planning to run on Switch, why would it be on there? So we know that maybe not a live demo of it, obviously, but we do know it's going to be there. That thing has to be decent. It has to be up near at least what the PlayStation 4, Xbox One is now, not necessarily what the upgrade's going to be, but you would think that it would be there. Joe, you're more of a spec guy a little bit with the PC and stuff. What do you think? I mean, it's pretty impressive to have Skyrim running on a Nintendo, let alone a handheld. We don't know how it's going to pull it off, but what do you think about seeing Skyrim as part of that promotional reveal?
I thought it was pretty cool, but I was more stoked about actually seeing the NBA game on there. Because if you played any type of NBA game on like Wii or anything like that, it was always just cartoon characters.
Right.
So that was really an eye-opening thing to just how far that it's came, because you could tell from that running that NBA that graphics are going to be up where the PS4 and the Xbox One. I mean, it was awesome that I saw Skyrim running on it, but I was more excited about the basketball.
I was not prepared to see either 2K17 nor Skyrim on a Nintendo commercial, especially with all the third party that they did not have with the Wii U. Jerry, you gonna say something?
I was thinking about those controllers. You can use them one in each hand. And then the way they were playing right there, like the basketball game Joe was excited about, it's like it's on each side is its own mini controller. Because if you really break it down and look at it, it was kind of interesting to me the way they did that. And I watched a video actually, and they were, trying to, break down all the little things. It looks like there's running air vents on the top because, maybe how powerful the processor is, and looking at the type of because it shows the little game cartridge in there. And I do like that they're going back to the cartridge-based games, because the amount of information you can put on one of those now is more than a Blu-ray, and cheaper than a Blu-ray disc.
Yeah.
So I was kind of excited about that as well. But yeah, Joe was talking about the basketball game, and I had forgot about that all the Wii games were the big-headed bobblehead characters that you had to play with. But yeah, it looked sharp.
Andrew, one thing
in terms of,
go ahead, Andrew.
In terms of Skyrim, I was talking with some of my friends about it, and I can't remember exactly what Bethesda's statement was to, I believe it was IGN, but it was something along the lines of Skyrim was not running in that promotional. It was Skyrim, but it wasn't running, or something like that. But in that, and I think you mentioned it, in that specific trailer, that doesn't matter. Like,
nope.
I don't care if it was just, the video feed that was being CGI'd on there. It doesn't matter, because that's not the point of that trailer or that teaser. It's to say we're trying here. And to me, the bigger deal, like you guys are saying, is that you have games like Skyrim and the sports games that are not Japanese games. It's like Nintendo's thinking, okay, we've got to reach out to, listen to, work with, appeal to the American audience, and not just be a Japanese company, because we haven't been a Japanese company for 20, 30 years now, but we've still operated like one. We're a worldwide company, and now we got to act like it. And if that is what they're doing, and it's not just, some smoke that they're blowing in a teaser trailer, that's a pretty significant deal.
I did like that they released, 50 third-party developers mixed with major developers, major indie developers, and a couple other things. I mean, you had EA was on there, you had Bethesda was on there. Obviously, you had 2K was on there.
Activision, Atlas.
Yeah, Atlas, and then you got some of the niche ones. So you got Atlas and NIS, and you got a couple of different ones in there that was thrown in there. So it's interesting. I think Nintendo knew what they had to do. I thought it was very well put together. I don't know, it's a little bit goofy and campy, but that's Nintendo. And to be able to put those 50 names out there, that was pretty impressive. And I think it's kind of just like you said, Andrew, it's kind of giving us a little bit more confidence that they're trying to be more of a global company than just a Japanese company and doing that stuff. So I was pretty stoked when I saw that list. I was like, holy crap. Like, and you know that, all these guys not only are going to try to port things over, but you got to think that there's going to maybe be some exclusive titles for this. There's going to be some other things that Nintendo can say, hey, look what we can do. PS4, Xbox One can't do this. Why don't you make a game for us? Why don't you do an exclusive for us? So it's going to be interesting. Go ahead, Jared.
Yeah, it looked like it showed that preview of what could possibly be a new Mario game, and it was a very, it reminded me of Mario.
Like Nintendo 6. It looks like a lot like Mario 64.
That's what I was saying. And with all the HD remakes, why not remake one of the best games on that system and do a updated version of Mario 64? And it looked like the Zelda game that was on there. So hopefully, I mean, they're developing these to have some decent release titles or, opening day.
Well, they need, I think Nintendo has said that, the reason they're releasing in March is because they want that big opening day as far as not only Zelda. Listen, they could just put out Zelda and wait for everything else to be perfectly fine. And that's just Nintendo, but Nintendo has to have more prepared for this one. They know that. And from what I understand, at least I can't remember who they were talking to. Maybe it's the new president, but he said the reason they moved it back to March or whoever they was talking to was because they had to let these third-party developers, they want 25, 30 games on launch. Much like, the PS4 did really good with the PSVR because they had so many games out on the first day or within the first week. I think that's what Nintendo's shooting for with this console. Andrew, I wanted to ask you, I read a couple different stuff on Twitter, some articles about how more grown up this reveal was versus the Wii and the Wii U and some of the other stuff that they did. And maybe it's an appeal to try to get the older gamer back versus because that's really the PS4 in the Xbox One. That's who they have, and the Wii U just didn't pull them away because of third-party support and all the stuff we've always talked about the Wii or the Wii U. Do you think that that's true, that this kind of campaign is more for the trying to bring back the older audience to Nintendo and say, hey, we got Skyrim, we got a new Mario, and plus we got Mario and Legend of Zelda. Those guys don't have that. Do you think that's kind of the marketing push here?
It was the marketing push with the Wii U. If you recall, they had Arkham City, they had a Mass Effect remake, they had Darksiders 2, a few other third-party remakes that were from the PS360 era. And they were trying, but they didn't get any further than that first initial push. I don't know if they just paid for those to come and then hoped that more would follow and they didn't, or what.
I think that the Wii U, somebody made a good point, I think Ubisoft, which was an early adopter, which is also an early adopter for this one as well. I think they just saw that it wasn't going to work. And I think they said they had 7 or 8 titles that they just cut production on because it wasn't worth the money because, obviously the system wasn't in as many homes as a PS4, Xbox 360. So they lost support. I'm with you, Andrew. I think everybody just pulled the plug and was like, sorry guys, we love you, Nintendo, but not this cycle. We're going to have to bow out. Joe, do you think they're going for an older audience now? I mean, you look at it was a very different reveal than what we're used to from Nintendo. There's no puppets or or anything like that with this one, which I enjoy the puppets. I like it. But Joe, what do you think about the maybe the older audience they're shooting for?
I think they're trying to bring back close to the original Nintendo audience, trying to aim to get them back because they know they're still playing the video games because they're still playing the PS4s, they're playing the Xbox Ones. They know they don't have to step up their game, and they've been trying to catch up for the past 2. Well, not I'm not even gonna say past 2 systems, just this one system with the Nintendo U, with the Wii U. But because I feel like they knew when the Wii came out that the only thing it had was the motion control. But I think this one is finally going to catch up, and I think it's really going to catch on just because, I mean, I like the game. I work and I travel like 3 hours to and from work combined. So if I can take it to work with me and play on lunch, I mean, that's something that's gonna really appeal to me more than coming home and sitting down and playing, because as soon as when I get home, I'm ready to go to bed. So,
I think you make a point about, I'm going to try to reverse this around for a second. You said the original Nintendo crowd. All of us are the original Nintendo crowd. And we've kind of loved Nintendo from the get-go. Even so, I'm not a huge fan of the Wii, but Mario Galaxy is one of the best games I've ever played, just the polish and everything to it. And we're that group. So I bought a Wii U. Andrew bought a Wii U. Jared had a Wii at one point. I think, I bought a Wii.
I still have my Wii.
And Jared still has his Wii, because, Nintendo won him over. I could just imagine, like, Jared texted me that, and Sony and Microsoft just wailing in tears in a boardroom because then papers going, everybody's like, oh, Nintendo's got Jared, we just might as well quit. So we're all Nintendo guys, and we're going to buy it for the Marios and the Zeldas and hopefully a Metroid and stuff like that, because we grew up on those titles. I think Nintendo is looking to get that, especially with that last minute or so with the Splatoon stuff. They're trying to get the Call of Duty guys. They're trying to get the sports fans back. And I think that they say, you know what, the guys that's going to buy Nintendo, they're going to buy it anyway. Let's try to go and get these guys that are playing PS4 and Xbox One because of Destiny and because of Call of Duty. Jerry, do you think it's more of that they're trying to pull, not necessarily old school Nintendo, because they've already got that. But what do you think? Do you think they're trying to pull it back that way?
I think that they're trying to show them, everybody, that they're trying, that they're going to get these games, that this isn't, this isn't another Wii system. This is totally something different. This is going back to their actual gaming. And, there were some aspects in there for some of the younger kids. They showed the Mario Kart game in there. That's for everybody right there. I mean, my kids like to play Mario Kart. So I think, but you're right, they did target a lot of the older generation, trying to show things in there. The Mario, the Zelda, and then, the Skyrim, the sports games. And, I think they will target some of the younger ones, but I think right now they're trying to win the people they've lost over, and to show them, be like, listen, we're done with the Wii type play right now, and we're gonna switch directions.
Which I'm happy about, because I didn't buy a Wii, or I didn't buy a Wii U. I had a Nintendo 3DS for 2 weeks and traded it in because, I didn't really like any of the games that was out for it. And to tell you the truth, I didn't have time.
Andrew. Cover your ears.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't have time to look at a small screen to play a video game on. And I could easily play my PlayStation 4 when I worked at home. But now this screen, I think with the new controller, they're having a screen on the console itself, it suits me more.
So let's pivot back into that, because that's the big thing. We can talk about all the stuff we saw on it, whatever. But the big thing is Nintendo has, in my personal opinion, again, revolutionized gaming again. And this is because they have put a whole console, at least from what we understand. We don't know specs. We don't know how they're going to pull it off. We don't know what kind of hocus pocus, that they're going to do this. But you can play a high definition, graphically beautiful game, not an app, not a terrible port onto an iPad, but you're looking at a full Zelda game, a full Mario game, Skyrim, like Andrew said, and it's portable. And this is we've always dreamed about, even when we're kids, we're like, wait, wouldn't it be cool if we could just take the Super Nintendo anywhere, or we could play it anywhere, or take our Genesis somewhere? This is from 8 years old, man. We've always wanted this. When the Game Boy came out, we thought it was awesome just because it was portable.
Even when we were in high school, they had the portable TVs for your PlayStation and PlayStation 2. But now, this one had the little stand that attaches to your headstand. How great is that more than one person can be sitting there playing in the car?
You even have the portable screen for the GameCube, because I remember going to the beach with my best friend, and I was playing Tiger Woods all the way down.
Yeah,
That portable screen.
Yeah.
They were super expensive, like $150.
Yeah, they were.
but I mean, this one's built into the system, and you can just hook it on your headrest and go with it. I mean, that makes things so much easier.
Yeah, it's amazing what
and
they've done.
if you
Andrew, you was about to say
recall-
something. Go ahead, Andrew.
If you recall, the entire marketing campaign of the PS Vita was centered around being able to turn off your PS3 and pick up exactly in the middle of your Major League Baseball video game.
In the middle of the
just keep
subway.
on playing while you walked out the door. Yeah. And this is actually what that is, which is a big deal. It's funny to me. I'm not ready to say they've revolutionized it yet, because that's a pretty strong word. But I do believe if it accomplishes what they're advertising, or what the trailer would have you believe, then it would be. And I think that's funny, because here we thought for 2 years now that VR was going to be the next revolutionary thing, and now Nintendo just out of nowhere brings this out. I'm not ready to say that yet, but it is interesting to me that it's looking like it's headed that way. Another thing I wanted to point out, as far as, and I haven't seen anybody mention this yet, but I haven't read a lot of articles. They did not show any touch controls on the screen.
Mhm.
That's a big deal. Think about where Nintendo has been for the last 10 years, and there's not even a touch screen. Or they didn't advertise that there's a touch screen. And really logistically, you can't, because you can't use a touch screen when it's in that docking station. That's a big deal.
Yep.
Because it means that the gimmick is now this very marketable thing, and not motion control, and not two screens, and not touch screens, and all that other crap. That's a really, and I don't think anybody said anything. At least I haven't heard anybody point that out, but that's pretty significant, because it's like, maybe Nintendo finally is getting away from games are toys, and they're actually thinking games are games.
They're thinking it more of as tech. Yeah, like, this everyday tech that you're going to put in your bag when you walk out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's going to be motion control in it.
It'll have a gyroscope.
Yeah, everything's got gyroscope in it.
Yeah, I don't know about touchscreen or not, but
from what I understand, and from the people that I saw on Twitter, Andrew, there was very few people that mentioned it on Twitter. Like, is it a touchscreen? Because from what I understand, and some of the rumors that are floating around, there's this article of this very good reporter that had dug up a lot of this before it came out, and had a Nintendo source, an EA source, and an indie studio source, that pretty much everything was right that she was getting. And I think it was the EA person, said that the screen's going to be touchscreen, but it's not going to be gameplay touchscreen. So I'm guessing that there's going to be parts of that when it's portable, I'm guessing that you can touch the screen, maybe in apps, maybe it is going to have some app stuff to it, as far as being, we haven't even touched on, what kind of memory is in there as far as a hard drive. But yeah, so from what I understand, there is some rumors floating around that from some pretty good sources that it's going to be a touchscreen, but it's not going to be gameplay related, which goes back to what you said, is that they've been so focused on motion controls and touchscreen and being part of the gameplay. It's still not part of the gameplay, from what I understand, so that's still a step in the right direction.
And I think we can look back, and I'm kind of relating to what Andrew said about not saying it's going to be revolutionary or anything, but Nintendo has always done something different when they come out with console. The 64 had the new controller layout.
The 64 was a cartridge. I think that was, that was different enough, considering everybody was going to CDs.
And then, I'm not sure about the GameCube.
GameCube mini disc.
Yeah,
the 64 had that weird controller, but also, the joystick.
Yeah, joystick, rumble pad, stuff like that. The Wii had motion controller, and that really caught on. You saw PlayStation and Xbox kind of scramble to kind of get on that.
You could also say the GameCube, and Andrew brings it up a lot, that they did the first awesome wireless controller with the Wavebird. Yeah. And then the Wii U, you had the screen, you could take it. I think it was maybe a little prototype of what they were wanting to do,
because you could still take it anywhere you wanted to go.
No, you couldn't.
In your house.
No, you couldn't.
Really?
It had, you know where my game room is, right, Joe?
Yeah.
I sat in the game room and it shut off on me. And that's like right for people. I got a game room here that if you're watching, you're seeing right over this way. There's a wall, closet, and then my living room's over there. This isn't my house is like 900 some square foot, so it's more of a cottage. So it's not a lot of space here. I don't have walls upon walls here or long hallways. And it was like, oh, you're out of range. I was like, dude, I'm technically right behind you. Like I'm right behind the console. So the wireless thing didn't work super well.
Yeah, but at least they tried it.
Well, they tried it, but it didn't work super well.
But I mean, they tried different things, but I think they really got to hit something here.
Let me say why I think it's revolutionary. Okay, and I want to go out and say it now, because this is something that's never technically been done. Something of this powerful magnitude as far as graphical interface and being able to both play it at home and away. Now, there's still some more questions, and I'm not saying the reason I say it's revolutionary. I don't think it necessarily has to be super successful because I think you're going to see a lot of copycats, and a lot of copycats mean they're going to do better hardware, maybe push Nintendo to do better hardware. But this is something that differentiates itself from the whole video game market. Nobody's doing this. Nobody, and you can say the Vita, but the Vita doesn't do what it does. It doesn't do exactly what they threw out when they brought it out. And as far as the remote, it does remote play really well, but it doesn't do. I've heard terror stories about people trying to take it out, and it's just not powerful enough to be able to do it wirelessly. And maybe Andrew, you've done it that way, but I've heard not great things once you get out the door.
No, I've never done it well over the internet.
Okay,
I've never had any.
And so that's why I think it's revolutionary, because it's so different. This is the first time that I feel like personally that Nintendo has shelf space on major retailers, Walmart, GameStop, Best Buy, that it can be like, ooh, what's this? It's completely different from a PS4 and Xbox 360. And I think that's why Nintendo has hit something. And I feel like, it is revolutionary now because nobody's tried it. This is completely different. For the first time in forever, Nintendo has a different console that actually makes sense, that people know what it is. It's not a Wii. It's not an add-on for the Wii. It's actually a portable system that parents can understand what it is, grandparents can understand what it is, aunts and uncles can understand what it is. And it's huge because, just like Jared said, there's a lot of parents out there that don't want to buy a PS4, they don't want to buy Xbox One, don't want to buy a Wii U, but now you can buy a Nintendo, and it's going to have all these games, and I can put it in the car, and my kids can walk and play in the car, or I can sit there and play on the couch when my kids are doing this. I mean, awesome. How awesome is that? And I think that I think it's revolutionary. When I saw it, I thought, this is huge. Like, this isn't going to be huge. It's already huge. But that's just my personal opinion.
And the key to it is having, that game is loaded right into the screen.
Right, yep.
It's not loaded into some separate system. So all your saved data will go with you wherever you're at. And that's big for a lot of people. Because you don't want to be playing a game on your place. Well, I don't know how all the Vita and all that other stuff work. You're supposed to be able to play.
Some games have cross saves, but from what I understand, it's very clunky. And I haven't tried it, but from some of the podcasts that I've listened to, some of the games are very clunky bringing it over. And one guy even deleted like 75% of his game file because he thought he had hit the right thing and just deleted it. So it's kind of clunky.
Vita and PS4?
PS4. From what I understand, maybe you've had different.
It's not that clunky. It's not going to be as seamless as Switch obviously appears to be, but I've not had too many issues. You do have to be careful. It's not perfect for sure.
That's what he said. He said you just got to read. Because if you just do it and you're not paying attention, you could mess something up pretty quickly.
And one thing that which it just popped in my mind is the way that controller is laid out. Any game, if they do this like these other ones and you can download all these old games, that controller matches up with
exactly
a Nintendo, a Super Nintendo, a 64, a game or a GameCube, and possibly a Wii, depending on the game, like a Super Mario Galaxy, something like that. There's a lot of similarities that they could.
And we don't know what kind of motion controls is in those controllers. So
right,
when you can take them off, it could do the whole Wii library at that point.
Well, I mean, we don't really know a lot. I mean, this could be more than just, what y'all were talking about. but look how thin it is. And I'm interested to get the specs and get to see what's in it. Because
it
if
has
it's
an
that,
Nvidia Tegra. That's already known. It has it's got an Nvidia Tegra in it. I don't know what that is.
I put out an
But, I
article.
mean,
Andrew, let me see if I can find it. Go ahead, guys.
Yeah,
but I mean, if they can fit, if it has a Nvidia video card in it, I mean, that's going to be pretty sweet, and it's going to be able to run a lot of your HD stuff. It's going to be able to run HD, not a lot of it, but all of it. But if it can get that thin and have really good hardware in it, I mean that's revolutionary too. Because I mean, look how thick the consoles still are, even though they're coming up with slim models and stuff like that. I mean that was thin compared to PlayStation 4.
You're looking about maybe an inch and a half at the most. Yeah,
So,
it didn't look very thick.
No. So I mean that could be something that's revolutionized the consoles and all together, because you keep getting slimmer and slimmer, and here's Nintendo, hey, inch and a half console, and it has awesome.
So here's what it said. This is from Eurogamer. As far as what it said that the Tegra chip that they have, it's a X1 chip, and it's been used in the Shield Android TV console and the Google Pixel C, which I've never seen a Pixel C. Basically, it said this is a quote: Tegra is no slouch. To quote Digital Foundry's report on the Switch's use of Nvidia Tegra hardware, here's how the X1 chip lines up. Doom BFG edition and on Xbox 360 and PS3 runs at about 720p and 60 frames with 60 with frame drops. And the same game running on the Shield Android TV micro console based on X1 handles it nearly flawlessly, 1080p 60 frames per second presentation. Tron 2, another 720p 30 game on Sony and Microsoft's last gen console, operates at 1080 30 on Tegra X1. So it looks like it's capable of 1080p visuals, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. But it looks like looks pretty good. And working in the consumer electronics industry, and Joe's familiar with this as well, you don't need that thing to be put out 1080p on a tablet. Small screen, not stretched out. You just need a good frame rate, and you don't need it to look super good. Now it's on a TV you do, because you got a bigger space to fill with more pixels. But 32-inch TV, 720p, hard to tell between 1080p and 720p because the screen's a lot smaller. So it's interesting that it seems like they're pretty impressed with what they've put in there as far as spec wise.
And you got to remember too, if it's in the Shield, a lot of those, that's a Steam based. You can download your Steam games on it. Those are computer based games which have better graphic quality. And I mean, if it can run those at a high level, I mean, it's untelling what kind of screen that they're going to have on it by itself. I mean, the resolution on that tiny screen could be better than most of the bigger televisions.
Right.
So it's not.
I wonder. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it should have a really nice, clean, crisp picture on it on that small screen.
I imagine so. I wonder if the docking station is going to have any other further computing power to kind of beef up the picture for a TV versus, we don't know how that's going to work. It could just be a strict docking station, but I don't know.
Andrew, from what I understand, there's rumors that there is extra processing in the docking station. That's what it hasn't been confirmed. I don't know what's in there, but some people have said that, from what they understand, that there is a little bit of a boost in that to make it better for a home console. Which I would think that they would have to.
Yeah, I would imagine. We kind of got away from. So is that all the tech stuff you all wanted to say? That's all the tech stuff,
as far as we know. Yeah.
So we kind of got away. We mentioned the launch games and then wanting to have, what'd you say, like 50 launch titles or something like that?
I think it was like 30. I think it was
30. Okay. Well, 30. Nintendo hasn't had a good launch lineup in a long time.
Yeah, even the Super Nintendo was a terrible launch lineup if you go back and look.
Shut up! Super Mario World was released with.
Well, that's true. That's all it needed was. But if you look at the other games, there's some good games.
Speaking of which, I'm really looking forward to buying Super Mario World for about the 10th time. Like I'm genuinely excited about dropping another $8 on that bad boy. But they haven't. I mean, 64 was okay, especially if you extend out to launch window, because you've got Mario 64 and Shadows of the Empire, which was cool. You don't have to. It was a decent launch window system.
Well, now you got me curious, and it bothers me when I get curious. So
okay. GameCube had Luigi's Mansion, which, yeah, and Pikmin and a couple other things. It was a decent lineup. The Wii, of course, had Zelda, which is I know the Switch is also. I keep wanting to call it the NX because I just kind of got attached to that nomenclature. And we should talk about how good of a name Nintendo Switch is, but let's stay on target for now. Zelda's not a great launch title. I mean, it's a great title, and obviously I love having Zelda to start off a console because that means you might get two like we did with the Wii. Mm-hmm. But it's just not as it doesn't appeal to people the same way a launch Mario would. I mean, I don't know. Does that make sense? Do you agree? What do you think?
I understand.
Yeah.
I think you're right because Zelda's not a game for everybody. But if you come out day one and say, "Oh, we have Zelda and Mario," but I think if you're going to put out a system on Nintendo for the launch, you have to have a Mario game to go along with it. That's just my thoughts.
Well, the good thing about Zelda is it still has that nostalgia to it, so it's still going to reach out to some of those people. Oh man, I remember playing Link to the Past or whatever. Maybe the older group there that we kind of talked about. That still has the name recognition. But I totally agree. If I had to choose, I would choose them to push back Zelda and put another Mario game out. I think I think it's smart for them not to package it in there, because you can make extra money off the game. And then Nintendo stopped doing that for a while ago. But I agree with you, Andrew. I think Mario would give it more of, holy crap, it's a new Mario game. But maybe they're kind of, they released a lot of Mario games. And I think maybe they're holding off a little bit and being like, hey, let's throw out Zelda first, and then we'll bring out Mario later on.
They did go a little wild. I'm going to make a bold prediction, aka a wrong prediction, and say that the Switch will launch with a Mario and a Zelda.
Oh, okay. Be cool.
And not like not a Mario sports game. It might be like a 3D Land, 3D World style, but I'm thinking it's going to be a legit, because the Wii U didn't have one. The 3D World was good, but it did not have a Mario Galaxy, Mario.
That's true.
64, even Mario Sunshine. Like, it didn't have that kind of game. So I'm going out on a limb. I'm going to stake all my reputation. No, I'm not. But this is a probably wrong but bold prediction that it will launch with or at least launch window Mario and Zelda.
I think Mario curling would be a huge hit and really move consoles.
You know what I want to see? I want to see another dodgeball game.
Yeah, man, Super Dodgeball. Yes. Bring me a Super Dodgeball game. Yes, sir.
That would be good with the VR, wouldn't it?
Oh, that would be good. No, hey, don't sell me on VR. I'm an old man. I don't need that stuff.
Nah,
all right, so let's look at the launch. Let's look at the launch title. So. Go ahead, Jared.
I said I wasn't buying into the VR, so
I'm not either. So U.S. launch title for the Super Nintendo was F-Zero, Gradius 3, Pilot Wing, SimCity, and Super Mario World. Not great. Not a lot of games, but decent. Looking at the N64 launch title, you're looking at, you had 2-game launch title for the 64. You had Pilot Wing 64 and Mario 64. That's it. Then you look at,
if you go into launch window, I think it's a little better.
Oh, launch window. Okay, yeah, we're just looking at launch titles with, I guess, when it first came out. GameCube. Let's see. GameCube, we got All-Star Baseball 2002, Batman Vengeance, Crazy Taxi, Dave Mirra Freestyle BMX 2, Disney's Tarzan Untamed, Luigi's Mansion, Madden NFL 2002, NFL Hits 2002, Star Wars Rogue Squadron, Rogue Leader, Super Monkey Ball, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, and Wave Race Blue Storm.
Pikmin wasn't launch?
Pikmin wasn't launch. Maybe launch window, but it wasn't launch.
I don't know. I could be completely wrong on that. I never played it, so.
Yeah. That's not a bad for GameCube, though.
That's a lot of games.
You have Mario and the Rogue One in there, so.
Yeah, Andrew, it may be the best one.
Luigi's Mansion is not Mario, but.
Right, but it was a Mario type game.
What
The
happened
Wii
this
actually
week?
had a ton of games at launch.
It did, and Wii Sports sold that system, so it's hard to hold its launch against it just because of what it did conceptually.
I have to honestly say I only played, I think, 4 games, maybe 5 on Wii, and that was Mario Soccer, Super Smash, Mario Kart, Wii Sports, and Tiger Woods Golf. Are the only games I played on the Wii.
You were Mario and or ones that really mattered.
Yeah. I mean, you named about the 4 that everybody still owns.
And then
Smash Brothers, Mario Kart, Wii Sports.
What happens if they just get crazy and be like, all right, we're not releasing Zelda, Mario, and a Star Fox?
Well, they just had a Star Fox game.
Why if they was like, to not only with the launch of Zelda, but we're going to release all of our backlog for the for download.
They could be porting some of these over to the new one for the small amount of people that did purchase a Wii U. With the Switch, they could be like, well, we're going to put out the Star Fox game and the Zelda game are both going to be day one launch titles. Yeah, Super Smash Brothers.
The Zelda is going to be on Switch.
Yeah.
We've known that for a long time, but
and we also know that there's either Jared. I think you hit on a good point, and is that they did show Mario Kart. Yeah. Now that gives us 2 questions. One, is it going to be backwards compatible, or are they releasing another copy of that, and a Switch version like HD or whatever remake, or if you can even call it a remake, I guess just a re-release. So that brings up a good point. Let's just go ahead and talk about that right quick. So, do you think it's going to be backwards compatible? And do you think it's going to be backwards compatible with the Wii U? Is there going to be some way that you can play your Wii U?
No, it's not. I read and it said they will not take any discs.
Okay.
So
here's
unless maybe it's a downloadable version of it. Maybe. I mean,
they can release it on cartridge.
Yeah, I mean, they might re-release them, but I'm not going to say they're backwards compatible with what you already have.
Do you think they might possibly, we ain't even talked about what kind of storage is possibly in this thing, but do you think that there's any way that they could do like Microsoft's done with their backwards compatible, that you own the disc, you can type in the UPC or something like that to get a download code, maybe like $5 or something like that?
Yeah. Go ahead.
This is Nintendo. This is Nintendo we're talking.
That's true.
Don't get carried away. It looks great, but let's not forget who we're talking about.
I mean, how much can it cost to redo or just put them out on a cartridge? I mean, like Jared was saying, it's a lot cheaper than it is for a Blu-ray disc.
And if you brand them like classics or something like that,
put some cool cover art on it.
Mm-hmm.
I would say all their major games, like the Star Fox and your Super Mario,
World.
All your Super Mario games. Stuff like that, I could see them putting those out on a disc just because that's going to be something to draw even more people in.
I mean, if you say, hey,
like the greatest hits type things.
If you say, hey,
from the Wii U. Yeah,
here's a Super Smash Brawl on cartridge for it. That's the greatest hit. That's not a sell by itself.
Yeah, sell for like $30.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk
I would rather see them just yeah. I'd rather just have them do a downloadable Melee and be done with it. But
now, we haven't even touched on one thing, because if they're not putting it on cartridge, and we all know it's cheaper than Blu-ray, I mean, is it going to cause the price of their games to go down? Is that going to make the system sell as well?
That's a good point, because like Jared had kind of pointed out, people thought, cartridges are too much, but now they're super cheap, just like a disc is, less than a disc. And they even talked about, there are going to be, at some point, cartridges that can hold just as much as a Blu-ray, if not more, as far as that goes.
Well, you look at a Blu-ray disc holds, 60 or 80 gig?
I thought it was 50.
I can't remember. I mean, the dual layer, I thought, maybe I thought it was 20. I think it's 20, because a regular DVD held 5 and the Blu-ray held 20, but the double, and you look at an SD card, you can get a
256 gigabyte.
Yeah, I mean that's like $60 right
Yeah.
there for 256, and these games aren't going to be that big.
Jared's
So
50 on a dual layer is 25.
okay, so I mean you're looking at 50 max and a 50 gigabyte SD card. You know, depending on who you get it from and the brand, and like if you're wanting the what the rate on it and stuff is, but you can get one for $20 sometimes. So I mean,
But
it's possible to be able to put a lot of information or a lot of storage on one of those little discs.
here's another thing. I mean, it's 50 gigabytes. We get a lot of updates with those games. And I know, like, the games you play sports and stuff, they update the roster, stuff like that. But, you know, WWE 2K17, I had downloaded an 11 gigabyte hard drive or 11 gigabyte update before I could even play the game.
Holy crap.
I mean, with the cartridge, I mean, like you said, 50 gigabyte cartridge, you can go up to like 75, maybe 100, or and 250, even 60, and actually get whole video games again.
Well, I think that, you know, that's true, and maybe that's a pop dream almost, because I think you're still going to see firmware, but that means, you know, even the Andrew, you would have to think that the tablet or whatever you want to call it there, the portable part, has to have some kind of memory in there, right?
Yeah,
because
I mean,
if a
it's gonna
game has an
have to.
update and you
It's
download
gonna
it
be
at home,
portable.
you would have to either dock it to update it, say there is a firmware update for it. I mean, there would have to be something there to be able to, or like, for example, WB2K, you want to download, you know, wrestlers. You don't want to, you know, maybe you want to download it on the go or something. I mean, there has to be some memory in there, right?
But rethink that question, because the screen is the console.
Right.
So it has to have
guaranteed.
memory in it.
Oh, so it has to.
Oh.
Well, not necessarily. Well, I guess so. Unless the dock has the hard drive in it. See, I don't know.
Well, think about the old cartridges, though. The cartridges, the information was saved on it.
That's
so,
true.
I mean, if you have a 30 gig game and it'll hold, say, 70 gig of information, then you want a roster update, it downloads straight to that disk. You can take it to somebody else's house. Yeah. Or, you know, one thing that I think people forget about the Wii is that it had a memory card slot, so that if you wanted to download a game on that memory card, you could, instead of downloading straight to your hard drive. And that's one thing I'm interested in about this, is if you can download games or do whatever, if they're going to make a memory card that you can buy to put in it, so that you can take those other games extra places.
I'm going to say with 99% surety that they're going to have either an SD or micro SD slot for memory. The 3DS has used it for ever how many years now.
The Vita still uses it, even though they're super expensive because Sony.
Well, those are proprietary, but you know, Nintendo just uses straight up SD
cards. Yeah.
So I would almost guarantee you that that's just what they'll use, because that's what they use. I'm looking at my Wii U right now. I believe it has an SD card slot. So, yeah, I don't think we have to worry too much about internal memory. I'm sure it'll have some, but they've been using SD cards for years now, and I would say that Switch will do the same.
If they need it, though, because if it's a cartridge based, and I know they don't have games you can probably download, but if you have a cartridge-based game, you can put more gigabytes on that cartridge and just update the game there. Now, it may have a SD card in it, just in case you want to put more games on it that you can download, or say that you bought them from the DS or something like that and you want to play them. I say yes, they probably will.
So, Joe, Andrew, this is maybe another question for you. Do you think that they'll have some kind of DS capability out of this? Now, Nintendo has said that they're not done with the portable, even though this is the ultimate portable. That they're not done with the DS. They still got some games coming out for it. Do you think that there's any way that you can have that dream system where I know the DS is double screen, so I don't know how it would work with a lot of the games. But do you think that you could possibly, and some of them are touchscreen as well, so we don't know if, you know, rumors have it there's touchscreen, we don't know. But do you think that there's at least an ability to be like, hey, I can play my DS games on here? We must have lost Andrew.
Well, the same thing I was reading about the backward or the not being able to use those discs is that it wouldn't play the discs or the cartridges either. So,
but could you download it? For example, like on my DS, like we talked about the SD cards. Say I download Luigi's Haunted Mansion or whatever because I think it's a great game for 3DS, and I'm like, oh, I want to play this, and I just pop it in. Do you think they'll have an interface that says, okay, here's your split screen, kind of like what they have the DS stuff you can do on the Wii U. They just put it on the screen as a split screen. Do you think it's possible? I mean, that'd be cool if it would. Do you think it's possible?
It would be cool, but I don't know if it might be one of those things where here's your DS version or here's your version of this game that you can download. Like just like the Wii U games, it's not going to have maybe not exactly have all the features in it, but you're going to be able to do the basic gameplay.
So you think they'll use some kind of emulator?
Possibly. That's
like what they do now.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That there'll be some way to adapt the game over, but it will be just for it'll be that version of the game that they want out for the system. It won't be your classic. Well, I don't know how the 3DS worked. If there was the touch screen capabilities like some of the older games, but like that stuff gets taken away and replaced with here's just the basics.
There was a good split of like there was some touchscreen stuff. You had a stylus that you would do some stuff. Not every game, did everything with it, but like Mario, I don't remember using a stylus. I don't remember using stylus for Luigi. So there are some games, especially the classic games, like you kind of said, Jared, that they could bring on back. Here's just the flat gameplay. You don't really need a stylus for it. Here's this version of this game. So, and I kind of hope that they do that because that would be really cool. One big question that nobody seems to have an answer for yet is the battery life of that thing. It's going to be doing a lot. It's going to have a screen. It's going to have a processor, whatever memory that it has in there, as far as SD cards or whatever. It's going to be beefed up to be able to do what it wants to do. Joe, how long do you think the battery life is going to be on that thing?
I'll give it about 12 hours.
12 hours. Andrew, what about you?
3 at most.
Okay. Jared?
I was going to say around 5 probably. I don't know. Like the batteries in some of these iPads now, you can watch video for quite a while, and those are pretty thin. I expect this to be a little thicker, so you may be able to get a little better battery in them.
I'm about with Andrew. I'll say probably be 3 or 4 hours. Now, Andrew, if I'm not mistaken, the Vita, if you sit there and play it, for 2 or 3 hours, it takes about half of the battery. So that's about a 5-hour battery. I don't, with as much as this is doing and the graphical capabilities of it, I don't see it going past 4, at least initially. Now, I don't know if they can fix that before March, but some of the reports is at 3, that there's a lot of rumors around 3. But it's going to be interesting to see what the battery. I think that will go a long way in how successful it's going to be. As far as the battery life is, if you can get 5 hours out of it, like Jared, I think that's a win. I think 5 hours out of that thing is a win. Joe, I don't know how you're going to get 12 hours out of it. I don't know. It may have. Do you have inside information that has solar panels or something on it? Because I just don't. I don't know if it's going to be 12 or not.
Hey, if they can put the right equipment in there, I mean, you'd be surprised at what batteries can do. I mean, who knows? They might put a military grade battery in there that we ain't ever heard of that lasts like 24 hours.
Yeah, made of vibranium, Joe. Go ahead, Jared.
Oh.
I was gonna say, do you think it'll, which I'm pretty sure it will, but you think it'll have like a travel charger?
I'm sure it will. It'll have to.
Yeah.
Now you have to buy it separately because Nintendo, they don't.
Now I don't know. They might. You never know.
Jared, they put out a new 3DS and didn't include a charging cable.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the new 3DS had no charging cable. You had to buy it separately.
No, I didn't know that. See, I've been out of the mobile game loop for so long. It could be kind of like the original. Well, I don't remember what we had. It wasn't a 3DS. The Nintendo DS. Yeah, and it had it was the USB cord that come with the attachment. You just plug it in to that. So if you had a USB outlet, you could also use it to charge it.
Now, let me ask you this, just to throw it out there. Do you think it's going to have a SIM card in it so you could use your data connection?
That's something I thought about that because I do feel like they have an opportunity to really bring tablet and video game together for good under this. And maybe later, but as of right now, I mean, it's such a great thing just to be able to play Nintendo games on the go like this. I don't think they need it. I think because the Vita tried that. Remember, you only could go through AT&T to get the data plan and stuff. Well, nobody cared about that. And Wi-Fi is available enough places that you don't really need it. You just need to connect to the Wi-Fi usually. But it'll be interesting to do put a SIM card in it. I just don't know if that's something else with the battery life. Do they want to do that as far as the battery life goes?
As someone who owns the 3G Vita model, it's useless.
It is useless. I own the same one. Yeah, it's just dumb. I get what they're trying to do, but it just didn't really work out real well.
Well, I mean, you had 3G too. I mean, that wasn't the best coverage. But, with stuff coming out, like the 5G network, stuff like that, that could possibly change it.
Andrew, before you jumped off there, I want to ask you how much is the battery life we're talking about? Is how much does that play into the success of this console? If it's like 3 hours, do you think that hurts it, or do you think it's just 3 hours?
I feel like the 3DS didn't have the 3DS definitely had crappy battery life. I don't know if it was 3 hours, but the launch one, the new 3DS is a little bit better, but the launch 3DS was terrible. So I mean, battery life is definitely important. Actually, while we've been recording, I looked up a Forbes article that mentioned battery life as a major concern, and that's legitimate. I don't know why we're freaking out about it already, though. It's like we've just been trained by the internet to be cynical about everything.
Yep.
They're going to talk about this kind of thing. It's going to come out. Like, I had a friend who was like, yeah, I saw Skyrim. That was cool, but I just didn't see any games that really got me excited or sold me on the system. I'm like, that wasn't the point. That wasn't the point.
I was kind of surprised what they threw in there. I mean, we saw a new Mario game. I mean, I was very surprised just to see a new Mario game.
We have 6 months to get all this information, and we'll have it probably in February. And maybe we won't learn everything about battery life. They might not come out with specific specs or whatever. But anyway, to answer your question, it's definitely important. But I think we're getting a little premature in our cynicism.
Yeah, to kind of elaborate what Andrew said. I mean, I went into a local game shop the other day. I won't say which one, but and I was asking them, I was like, man, what y'all think about the Switch? Like, oh, well, I'm kind of excited for the Zelda game, but that's about it. I'm hoping for an MMO Pokemon game. That would be awesome. That would get me to buy one. Like, really, dude? Like, come on. So
that seems to be the over. It's weird. You got reaction like me who says, "Oh, this is revolutionary," and then you got people who are just like, But do you think that's a byproduct of what Nintendo is? We talked about it a little bit at the opening. You think people's just like, it's Nintendo? Like, do you think that's what it is, Andrew or Jared? Somebody like Jared, do you think that's what it is? That people are just like, oh, well, Nintendo's let us down, for the last two consoles. Do you think that's what it is?
I don't necessarily think,
because I don't care what Nintendo does and how terrible their system is. When they do something cool, when they do something new, I'm there. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think they're maybe not hating on Nintendo as much as to what they're used to playing now. A lot of the online multiplayers, a lot of the first-person shooters, and sports games. I mean, for the biggest majority, I think those are your best sellers now. So, trying to get them to switch back over to to some of these other games, they might be a little hesitant about it because they're like, that's just not what they're looking for. They want a game they can sit there and veg out for 80 hours a week and play. But so I don't know what it'll take, but I think this, like we talked about earlier, a lot of the middle generation, I guess, probably from like your 25-year-olds to 40-year-olds, I think you'll get a lot of those people back with this, the way it's set up.
I think to answer that question, that it's just really a byproduct of the internet training us that we're supposed to hate everything when we first hear about it. We're only smart if we're skeptical. The only way to be intelligent is to be cynical, and that's just what I think. And there's an actual one of the guys from the Laser Time Network has this theory that it's all because the Phantom Menace sucked, like because we were all excited about it, and that was right at the dawn of the internet boom. And it just kind of all played in together to make the internet as a hive mind cynical, and that's the only way you can be seen as intelligent.
That's the smartest thing I've heard ever for the negativity.
We can just and he was hoping that because the new one, whatever it was called, episode 7.
New Hope. Not New Hope. Sorry, that is the first one.
The Force Awakens.
Force Awakens. He said, since it was good, maybe we can finally begin to heal. I'm like, dude, no. That's a terminal illness. Like we're long gone on that one. But anyway, I think that's really the problem. It's not Nintendo, although Nintendo's earned some of that reputation. It's mostly just the hive mind of the internet itself has trained us that the only way we can be seen as intelligent is if we're skeptical about everything ever. And it's exhausting, but that's just the reality of it.
Go ahead, Joe.
I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that I think they're surprised us with battery life.
What was that last part?
That they're surprised us with battery life.
They may surprise with battery life. One thing, just to play it off of the reaction a little bit, do you think a lot of it is that people are just used to what they have? Like they're used to just a controller and a console, and some of the stuff that they don't know VR is kind of thrown in there. But the reason I ask, a lot of the comments was like, man, I just want Nintendo to make another console. And it's almost like, do you not understand Nintendo? Like Nintendo just doesn't make another console. Like for everything that's bad about Nintendo, for every bad idea, they've come up with some pretty good ideas that's made them a ton of money. And it's almost like, we talk about VR, we talk about, tablets and how, it's kind of changed gaming as well. I just feel like the console gamer feels like Nintendo should just put out another console. And for us sitting here, Nintendo's the best when they're just not putting out another console. As much as the Wii U was different with a touchscreen, it was just another console. I mean, that's what it was. It was a little bit different, but nothing huge. The Wii was completely different. The 3DS, even you could say, was completely different. And now you have this system that Nintendo's back to doing what they're doing and just taking their time and be like, this is what we're going to put out. And I think a lot of it is a lot of the console gamers are going to have to try to win back are those, just like Jared said, those PS4, Xbox One players that come home, sit on their couch, and play 8 hours of Call of Duty, and that's all they want from their console.
Go
they
home,
want to watch Netflix.
Game bros.
What'd you say, Joe?
Go home, game bros.
and I just don't think there's an understanding of how cool this is, and how revolutionary this could be, and how different this is from what PlayStation and Xbox One does, and how Nintendo has pretty much cut out its own niche at this point. And that's when Nintendo's the best, when they're trying to do something different. And I think a lot of people just don't understand that.
I looked at a chart, and it had the what every Nintendo system had sold, and I think the regular Nintendo sold like 61.1 million units or something like that. But the Wii sold over 100 million units, which is incredible. It was the best-selling. Besides, I think
PlayStation 2, I think, is the all-time best-selling.
I think I'm just talking about Nintendo.
Oh, Nintendo.
Besides one of the handhelds, I think the Wii was Nintendo's best-selling product, and that's kind of outstanding for what it was, because it wasn't necessarily great. I mean, there was a couple great games on it, but overall, it wasn't that great, but it was just kind of revolutionary. You know, had the Wii Sports and a lot of things they've done, and seem when they push that envelope a little bit, it seems like they always they stepped up their game.
Yeah.
Every time they
I would have to disagree though on some of this. Nintendo is, I don't think Nintendo's at their best when they're trying to be different. I mean, the Wii sold a lot, but it sucked. The Wii U didn't sell a lot, and it sucked. The GameCube wasn't that good. I don't think Nintendo's really been good since the Super Nintendo. The 64 had its moments, but I love Nintendo, but I don't think being different has been good for them.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's been good for them. For as many Wiis that they've had, you know, they've had some Super Nintendos. They've had some down, obviously some failures, I guess you could say. But it's the fact that I just don't want Nintendo just to be another console maker. And I think that, you know, in an industry that kind of gets set in their ways, and let's just be quite honest, Sony and Xbox One has kind of done the same thing over and over again, and it's worked. More powerful, better graphics, you know, better processing, all that stuff. But it's been the same thing. I think it's just refreshing because I don't want Nintendo to just do another console. I don't want a Nintendo branded PS4. You know, I just don't want that. But, you know, when their ideas hit, I would much rather have them, because when their ideas hit, just like Jared said, they're huge. They do a great job when they hit. You know, for every Virtual Boy, you got a Wii, and the Wii usually lifts it above everything else. I think it's refreshing. I guess for me personally, I find it refreshing that Nintendo continues to want to move gaming forward, I guess, instead of just being like, here's your box. You're going to buy every 8 years. That technically is kind of going to do the same thing, but it's just going to look prettier.
Hey, you know what I read?
What?
And it has a S video cable out.
Yo, that thing's too slim for an S video cable.
No.
But Nintendo's had some failures by trying to be different, but I just feel like that's what Nintendo does, and I would much rather have Nintendo continue to be different than just give me a black box every console.
Yeah, I'm not saying that I want them to just conform to the industry status quo, because the industry status quo sucks. I guess I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I guess I just
maybe they're like that they're too creative for their own good.
I like that they're willing to take risks. I want, you know, I think risk takers ultimately, like you said, they're going to hit. When they do hit, I guess they're willing to be wrong. Let's put it that way, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing, to be willing to be wrong rather than being safe and cookie cutter. It's one of the reasons that I don't think I will ever own a PlayStation and an Xbox, because what's the point? So I can play Gears and Uncharted? No, I don't need to play Gears. I can just play Uncharted. For that reason, though, I could see myself, and well, currently I do, and I will again, I'm sure, owning a PlayStation and a Switch or a Wii U or whatever, because there's just a different market there, and that's refreshing. Even if I've only bought like 5 games for the Wii U, it's still refreshing that it's an option.
I mean, as much as I've played my PS4, my favorite games are on the Wii U. I mean, you look at Mario 3D, you look at Smash Brothers, you look at Mario Kart. I played more of those than I have any of my PS4 games. I love my PS4. I play a lot of my PS4, but those are the games that I can go back to and be like, hey, you want to come over and play, you know, Mario Kart or something. So I think that not only they got the name recognition this time with what they have, but if they can just bring in some third parties, I think people's going to see how different this really is. Go ahead, Jared.
What I was going to say is, you know, it is revolutionary in a way, but it's kind of like they're going back to the roots, because they're not, I mean, the portable screen is what's revolutionary about it. But if you just look at it as a system, they're going back to what they were successful with the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and, well, the GameCube for how limited success it had, and the 64. I mean, it's a cartridge-based system that's going to play your games on it. And, you know, the big part about it is you can carry it everywhere you want to go. But, you know, they kind of like, it's like they took a step back and like, we need to refocus and get away from like these motion controllers and all this other stuff that we're trying to revolutionize, and go back to what really worked for us.
And Bob, you hit the nail kind of on the head when you were talking about some of those games, most of the games you mentioned, like Smash Brothers and Mario Kart, you can play those in the same room.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of, they kind of stick true to that to a point where you can bring everything with you and play it in the same room.
Now instead of having to bring you to the room, they're bringing the room to you.
Yeah.
That's exactly good point. Yeah, most definitely.
So, I mean, that's the thing that Nintendo has always gotten right is the multiplayer on one system. And I don't see that ever changing because that's why people bought a Wii U was because of, you could play Mario Kart and Smash Brothers all in one room. The PlayStation 4, you can't. The only 4-player game that's out is Madden,
Right.
and possibly the WWE
some
2K.
indie games, right? Some indie games, but
yeah, but that's about all.
I think this system, you brought up the Super Nintendo, and I do feel like this feels like the Super Nintendo. I remember when I was a kid and the Super Nintendo came out and how different that looked. I mean, it looked ridiculously different. Gameplay, the controller looked different. Everything looked different about how hyped you was for this. That's how I feel about this one. I just feel like it's so different and so refreshing that I just don't think this is going to fail because of everything that it can do. And we need Nintendo around, and we all talked about earlier in a lot of early episodes that this is Nintendo's shot. Like this may be their last shot to be a hardware, to bring out new hardware and to be relevant. And I think this is it. I think they hit it right on the head. Hopefully, right. So we just talked about an hour and 50 minutes about the Switch. So obviously they're doing something good, right?
Oh, hey, wait. 2 more things. Number one, they have that image that they released that has all the partners of people that are supposed to be publishing games for it. And one that I noticed was suspiciously missing, and it's probably just an assumption that they're going to be there and they didn't need to put it in, was Game Freak.
Right, yeah, the Pokemon guys.
The Pokemon company, yeah. I'm sure they'll be on there. It's not anything to be concerned about. I just thought it was funny. And then the other thing was, how good of a name is Nintendo Switch?
Of course.
I really like the name, just what it is. I really like it.
I would have to be careful when we have kids. If I go pick your Switch, and they're go pick the Switch.
Whole new meaning of the word.
People don't pick Switches anymore, Joe. People don't discipline their kids. So
what are you talking about? I just went and got to pick the Switch, and my dad sporked me with it. Not really. I'm just kidding, but
no, I agree.
It's not child abuse when you're 30 years old.
I'm 27, Jared. 28 in November. Okay. I'm just in the millennium, living in my parents' basement.
I think Andrew brings up a good point. For as much as we've trashed the PR machine that is Nintendo and how bad they messed up the Wii U, this is genius.
Hey,
I don't know if they cleared the room out and brought new people in or what the deal was, but this is genius.
So to me, this is up above the Sega Game Gear. All right?
Game Gear was a great name. Not a great system, but a great game. Or a great name for it.
No.
All right, so right quick, let's touch on Red Dead Redemption, and we'll get out of here.
You mean another hour?
Red Dead Redemption 2 was announced as well by Rockstar over a painful 3 days. They was just saying, oh, there's Rockstar in red and black. And now, oh, here comes a Western background. Now, Red Dead Redemption 2 with cowboys walking. Quick thoughts about that, because like I said, if this is a backseat to what Nintendo's done. This is where Nintendo has brought us this last week. But Jared, Red Dead Redemption 2, what do you think?
I didn't play the first one.
Never mind, Jared. Andrew,
wait. I'm still waiting to borrow it from you.
Oh crap! Okay,
but
Joe got it first too, so I don't.
Oh, I have a copy.
Oh.
We'll have a steel cage match. We'll have a Red Dead Redemption on a pole match, and we'll get Russo to.
I'll be more than happy to do that, but I have a copy, so Jared can
oh yeah, that's right. You bought one. Okay.
Yeah, but I was gonna say I just watched the trailer because I hadn't watched it yet, and honestly, like I love the history of the Old West and all the stuff attached to it, and the graphics on that trailer are gorgeous. If it looks anything close to what the trailer does, then I kind of got excited about it, even though I hadn't played the first one. So it makes me want to go back and play. So,
yeah. Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, I haven't played Red Dead Redemption either.
Oh my god! All right, Joe, me and you, man. So my initial thoughts, Joe, and maybe you can stop me from panicking. It almost feels like they're going for an online feel with this, like kind of an MMO type feel. And I'm sure it'll have a single game that you can play on your own. But please tell me I'm wrong, that I'm feeling differently about this. That it's more of an MMO type attempt here.
Have you? Did you ever play the online stuff?
That never interests me. You know me, I don't like playing online stuff.
I mean, it was just an open world, like gangs of New York type of feel.
Mm-hmm.
I know New York's not the West, but and that's the way it was. I mean, you had your different gangs, and you could play up to like 15 people online or something, and it was just a big open world slaughter. It's pretty sweet. It was pretty sweet. But I'm hoping that
Daniel Day-Lewis in it.
Yeah, it did.
Bonus character DLC. Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, the Butcher came out. But I mean, I hope they don't just make it an MMO. I don't think they will. I think that you'll see your storyline, but I think that you'll see maybe being able to bring some people in if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Like say me and you wanted to play, you might be able to do that.
So you think you'll have the quality of like the Division, where you can play through the story, but with a buddy if you wanted to?
No, I think it's gonna be more like GTA 5, where you have the full story mode, and then you also have the online mode, which is totally different.
Okay.
Where I mean, just recently they released like the motorcycle gangs in GTA 5 online because people have been forming them, but they wasn't that much to do. And now I think I sent you that article from Vice Gaming. I think it's gonna be something like that where you can form like your groups and you have like just different
posse.
Stuff. Yeah, like a posse. Yeah, when you have different stuff that you can do. I mean, the GTA 5 online is pretty cool because it's an open world MMO, but yet you still have the big story that you can play as a single player. And I think that's what they're gonna do. I mean, it's been a big hit, so.
We'll put a Monster Geek posse together. We'll all wear 10-gallon hats and dress like the guy from Curious George, the guy in the big yellow hat.
No.
So.
No.
Why not, man?
And the cool thing is, I know the first one, the one that came out on PS3 is going to be on the PS Now, I think. And I'm not sure, but remember the closed world one?
Yeah.
For PS2, maybe that one.
Oh, that'd be cool.
So,
I never played the one for PS2.
You never played the one for PS2?
Just the one for.
It was really fun.
Red Dead Revolver.
Yep.
Yep.
It was really fun.
I think it was really weird because didn't that come out like the same week as Gun, and Gun got more kind of a push there, and it kind of got overshadowed a little bit.
Yeah, but I mean, Red Dead Revolver. I think I rented it like 4 times to beat it, but it was really fun.
But it looks cool, and obviously we just got a really nice trailer. We don't know exactly, but I mean, if it's anywhere near as good as the first one, I mean, that's all I really kind of want. And I'm sure there's some other things first. I think the horse ride needs to be fixed. And there's some other things that needs to be fixed a little bit. But that game overall is probably one of my top 10 games of all time. Just an unbelievable game. And so I'm pretty stoked. We've all talked about all we really wanted was an HD remake of the first one. I think it's all we talked about because at that point, the second one was a myth. Almost, one of those urban legends for video games. But man, I'm super stoked about that. And was really, I don't get stoked about stuff like that, but it's like, 2017. So it's as crazy as it sounds, we're almost at the end of the year. We're almost to 2017, and it's shaping up to be a ridiculous year for a lot of things. And now video games have thrown their hat in there.
It's mostly because 2016 lost everything that. It had
That's
to
true.
be.
Everything got pushed back.
And everybody died.
That's true.
Yeah, it's not been a good year, that 2016.
No.
All right, man. Guys, thank you for hanging out tonight, taking some time out. If you guys don't know this, we record this pretty late, about 10 o'clock, and we all got morning jobs. So luckily it's Saturday, so some of you guys don't have to go to work. I do. Actually, 3 of you. Andrew, you got to go to work tomorrow? You don't you?
Tomorrow?
Yeah, Sunday, right?
No, I don't work tomorrow.
Okay, so 3 of you do.
I'm not supposed to.
So,
but
thank you guys for taking the time out and coming and hanging out a little bit. And so, yeah, as you can see, we're stoked about video games in 2017. We got some awesome stuff, and I'm sure this won't be the last discussion we have about the Nintendo Switch. But we were all really excited and just want to kind of get our opinions out there I almost wrote a piece on it for the blog, and I thought, you know what, I'll just save it because I think we can have some great conversations about this, and we did. So, yeah, that's episode number 29, the Monsters of Geek podcast. Go check us out on iTunes, Spreaker, and Stitcher. Go, we need some subscribers. I have a lot of subscribers, but for the people who's listening, thank you guys so much. If this is your first episode, please go subscribe, and don't forget. Send us some questions, monstersofgeek@gmail.com. We would love to have some Q&A sessions on this podcast. If you're a listener, just send us a question. Whatever, it don't have to pertain to whatever we're doing for the week. Just send us a question, and we'd love to answer it, even if it's not geek related.
Yes, ladies, I'm single.
Oh, man. So for Jared, Joe, and Andrew, I'm your editor-in-chief, Aaron, and this has been episode 29 of the Monsters of Geek podcast, and we are out.
Peace.